welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to make a video over how to move into an apartment and the steps that you should take before moving into your first apartment. I am 21. I moved out of my parents' house and a week after I turned 20, just because I took these steps, and overall I've been very successful. So step number one, I think, would be to write out a monthly budget of just what you make every month, what you pay for every month, the things that you usually spend every month. So for me, the things that I did every single month was I always got my nails done every 2 weeks. I used it for gas, and then like extra fun money that I usually spent every weekend, like on food and stuff. I made a food budget. I budgeted in like my car payment, my car insurance, stuff like that, stuff that you pay every month. You want to budget that into your monthly budget just to see how much money is going out every month besides how much money you make every month. So I did that, and then Cooper did that as well on his own, and then we combined them to see how much money together we would be bringing in monthly. So that's how we started, and that's kind of how we figured out how much we could pay a month for an apartment. Second thing is to establish credit. So I did not establish credit as soon as I graduated high school. It took me about a year to realize I had to establish credit. So I applied for a credit card. I have a Discover credit card, and I used it for just like basic things that I did every month. So I used it for my nails, for gas, stuff like that, and then I would pay it off every single month. So I never put enough on it to where I couldn't pay it off. So I always spent money on it, and I never put more than what was in my bank account, so I could always pay it off at the end. So I paid it off every month, and then I would just do that I did that for like 6 to 8 months. Cooper did the same thing. Cooper's had a credit card for a while. He has had one since he graduated high school, and he's done the same thing, so he had a little bit higher of a balance than I did because mine was still new. So we both had credit cards, and we just established credit, so we had pretty good credit whenever we both moved out. Number 3, so whenever you find apartments that you like, or different ones that you like, if you have a couple that you've chosen from and they're around the monthly budget that you can afford a month, that you would write down on your monthly budget, you will try to save 3 to 4 months rent before you move in. And this is because of all the different fees that you're gonna have to pay. You have to pay like application fees, all kinds of stuff. You have to pay for a ton of different stuff, and then you usually will be prorated depending on when you move in. So we moved in on February 15th, and we had to pay half a month rent because we moved in halfway through the month to live there for the rest of February. So we had to do that. So always save about 3 to 4 months rent before you move in, just to be prepared for anything that could happen beforehand. Like if something falls through, you always have money that you can go back on just in case. And then if you don't spend that money after you do move in, then you can just put it in your savings account. Number 5 would be to take into account how much you pay already in bills. So say that you have a more expensive car payment. So say you have a $400 car payment, $500 car payment. You don't want to go into an apartment where you're completely strapped. You don't want to be house broke. So you want to still be able to have money to go do fun things on the weekends, go splurge and shop a little bit. If you want to go on like a spontaneous trip with all your friends, you'll have money to do that stuff because you're not house broke. You're not spending all of your money to get a more expensive apartment. So you always want to have money left over. So it's really important not to buy an apartment that's just what you can afford. You always want to buy something that you can afford, but you also have money left over, so that way you can still do fun things just in case, because honestly, things like toiletries are not cheap. Laundry detergent is not cheap. So I didn't know that before I moved out. So always make sure you have money left over after you pay rent. You don't want to be house broke at all. Tip number 6 is to always over budget. So whenever you're making your monthly budget, you really want to over budget. So you want to say that you are budgeting for groceries, you want to put the max amount that you think you would pay for groceries in a month. So that being, say that you ran out of every single thing in your apartment, you want to budget for something like that, just in case, because you can never know what happened. A vacuum cleaner breaks, you spill something on your carpet that stains and you have to buy a steam cleaner, things like that. You really want to make sure that you have over budgeted that way, because if you come in lower and you don't spend as much money that month, that's a win, you know, because then you have more money to spend or save, whatever you decide to do with it. So always over budget. Don't make yourself strapped to where you only can spend $100 a week on groceries, because sometimes that's just not reasonable. Sometimes you run out of things go bad, you have to buy toiletries, you have to buy extra things that you didn't know you needed. So yeah, always over budget. Number 7, I think, is going to be, am I on number 7? I don't know what number I'm on. My next tip is to start prioritizing the important things. So whenever you graduate high school, or if you are still in high school and you're moving out, whatever it is, start to get into a more adult mindset when it comes to prioritizing. You know, sometimes you spend a ton of money on groceries. You probably don't want to go out to eat every single night. You want to use those groceries, because if not, then you're wasting money. So just prioritizing, putting yourself in a mindset of, you know, this is the money that I'm spending. I need to probably use it. That way I'm getting the most out of the money that I am spending. Stuff like that. You know, going on really expensive shopping sprees is really great, but you don't want to do that every single weekend. That was a problem that I had, is I would go shopping every weekend when I lived with my parents because I had the money to do so. But whenever you move out, you know, you have to take into consideration of things like electric, water, cable, rent. I mean, there's a ton of things that you have to take into consideration. So just always make sure that you have enough money for those, and you can save as well by just not shopping and blowing a ton of money every single weekend that you can, just because you can. My next tip is to always take hand-me-downs. So whenever you move out, if you have a bunch of giving people in your family like me and Cooper do, then they're going to try to give you a ton of stuff like pots and pans, bowls, towels. Even though it might not match your aesthetic of your apartment, take them anyway, because it adds up. That stuff adds up so fast. Believe it or not, towels are not cheap, and neither are Tupperware bowls or like glass bowls to stir food in. Those are pretty expensive, so take those into account. Even though they don't match your Instagram aesthetic or whatever kind of aesthetic you are going for in your apartment, just take them anyway and just kind of make them work for your first apartment until you kind of get a way of like understanding and going with the flow. And then once you get into the habit of like buying things and you have the finances to be able to buy things that fit your aesthetic, then you can go ahead and do it. But always take hand-me-downs, because you never know when you're going to need them. I cannot even tell you how many times we've used my future mother-in-law's little bowls. They're like rainbow bowls, and I never thought that I would use them, but I do all of the time because they really come in handy. Same thing with like glass Tupperware bowls. We've used them every single week. So always take those into consideration. Always take hand-me-downs, even if they are not the cutest or they don't match the theme that you're going for your apartment. This is my last tip, and I think this might be my most important tip, just because it helped us out in the long run so much. So whenever you realize that you're going to move out, whenever you have come to the realization that you're going to be moving out, whenever you look at one and you find the one that you want, before you move out, whenever you realize that maybe you're starting to think about it, start buying things that you will need, as in laundry detergent, a vacuum cleaner, cleaning supplies, a trash can, what else? All kinds of stuff like that. Things that you know that you're gonna need. Sheets. All kinds of stuff like that we thought we would need. We bought throw blankets. We bought bar stools. We bought a coffee maker. Things that you know for sure that you are going to use no matter what apartment you're in. It doesn't matter really how they look. Just buy them ahead of time. That way whenever you do move into an apartment, you're not having to fork out all of this money to buy the things that you didn't think of, because a coffee pot and a vacuum cleaner, things like that are not cheap. And you want to go ahead and buy those beforehand. That way that once you move in, you already have some stuff and you don't have to buy as much once you get into your apartment. Because like us, we didn't have a washer and dryer whenever we moved into our apartment, and thankfully my parents bought us one, but we were kind of planning on buying our own. So we went ahead and bought like our vacuum cleaner, our coffee pot, like canned goods, stuff like that beforehand. That way we didn't have to buy it because we already knew that we were gonna have to probably buy a washer and dryer and stuff like that. So we went ahead and bought a bunch of that stuff. I can't even remember, we bought so much, and we just brought it over to our apartment as soon as we moved in, and it helped a lot. So I would recommend doing that as well. that's just a couple tips that I have for you to move into an apartment and you've never moved in before, you have no credit, whatever you're planning on doing with your life. If you want to move into an apartment, these are the things that I did that helped a lot and I wasn't strapped for money, and it also helped me really understand the value of money and prioritizing and saving my money. So if you like these tips and you liked me, then like and subscribe. Again, my name is Alyssa, and thank you for watching.